Don't trust anything you read online. Those guys are getting paid by the people that they recommend.
And you didn't choose to do it, therefore you're out.
You don't want to be liked, you want to be respected.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Roofer2Roofer show. My name is Allie. I'm the head of partnerships over here at ProLine. And today we have quite the assortment of panelists on with us today. We'll start with Carney Freifogel with CR3. We've got Brian Huff with Modern Roofing and John Starry with Steadfast Roofing, all here and ready to answer your questions, big or small. And the first question we have popping up into the queue today: if your company disappeared tomorrow, what would your market actually miss? And I will just let whoever wants to get after it take it first. Panelists, pop your questions in the Q&A. If your company disappeared tomorrow, what would your market actually miss?
Obviously, the streaking video would have to live on. So,
We got that covered. Okay.
I mean, that thing's going to live on forever.
Yeah, your digital footprint is substantial, John, to say the
I
least.
I say I'll go. I'll chime in. I'll go first. I think what the marketplace would miss is I think we're probably pretty ignorant to think that like the marketplace would just shatter and crumble without us. So like I'll preface the start of the conversation by saying that I don't think that any of us are probably nearly as significant as we believe we are, which sounds a little bit terrible. Um, but I think what they would miss is our existing customers, like people that we've actually serviced in the past, knowing that we're no longer around to be able to send referrals to come to service their properties, the interactions and the relationships that we created along the way. I feel like that would definitely have a negative impact on customers that we have serviced. Customers that we haven't serviced, there's a ton of great contractors out there that can service these individuals. And I'm with two of them right now, and there's plenty more where that came from. So I I'm sure we could all sit here and brag about how great we are in comparison to the competition and how we're saving customers every single day. But I think the people who'd be truly impacted are the ones that we've serviced that had a great experience, that we created a good, long lasting relationship with. And if they knew we weren't there to help them, if a problem ever arose, I think that those people would have a little bit of discomfort, knowing that we're no longer around.
Yeah. No, I love that answer, Carney. What about you, Brian? Anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I think it depends on how much of the market you actually occupy, how much of that market share does your company contribute to. So, I mean, it can be pretty volatile depending on the market in the area that you are, doing business. And there was a standalone new construction building specifically being built for a roofing company down the street from me. Last year, there's a sign that said "Future Home of," whatever exterior is a roofing company. They built the building and they never moved in because they folded. So it's like everyone's got these big grandiose plans to be this standalone, building for a roofing company. They're going to build their own building and never happened. So, but I think you're right, Carney. It's the kind of the wake that we leave behind us with the promises that we made and that we kept for all those years. And then, the homeowner just they hope and pray that you're gonna be around to answer the phone for years to come, and sometimes it just doesn't happen. But I think you're right too. We don't really have as much of a foothold as we think we do. So kind of helps keep your ego in check too as well.
Yeah, totally agree
Definitely said it best, man. I don't think any of us are as significant as what we really think we are.
Yeah.
Yeah. He also said something that I kind of want to touch on too, specifically around the homeowners feeling uncertain or a little bit nervous about the process. What specifically do you think makes them nervous about the roof replacement? Is there one piece of it that you find they get hung up on most frequently?
I mean, I personally think what we do is like grossly underrated. We talk about replacements as if they just go off and get like they just get tore off and reinstalled. And we always talk about it for the most part as if it happens within 8 working hours, right? So I think that we kind of devalue what we do, but it's a major home renovation project. I mean, we're talking about removing thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds of materials off of an elevated surface that also has a pitch to it oftentimes. So like it's grossly underrated what we do. And I would say one of the two major concerns that if I was a customer that would concern me with my roof replacement, which would be one, the destruction and damage of property. So with my siding, like the actual house itself, but then also the shrubbery, furniture, lawn ornaments, stuff like that. So damage and destruction of the property. And then the second one would be the obvious one, which would be, is it installed properly or things flash properly? Because the last thing that I want is a weather event to take place and my entire house get flooded. So those two for me would be huge pain points. But I believe that we devalue what we do because we act when we communicate with a customer, oh, we'll have this knocked out day. And I think that we actually devalue what it is that we do because it still is a major renovation project and it's an incredibly risky one. But we talk about it in such light that like it almost seems as though it's no big deal at all, even though we're tearing people's roofs off every single day and reinstalling new ones.
I like it. Anything else, gentlemen?
I think it depends on their experience with home renovations from previous relationships with other contractors. It could be bad communication or, just a lack of respect for their home. And they're just afraid that's going to happen again. So those are all the kind of the pain points that you try to eliminate, like during your sales process and during the face to face and the interview, that they're going to give you for how are you going to make sure my home is protected. If we're in Florida, it's going to probably rain every afternoon at 1 o'clock. What's going to happen then? And you try to hit those things before they show up and alleviate those worries.
Yeah, I mean, for a lot of people, it's their first and only time ever going through this whole thing where, I mean, we're doing this every single day. And one thing that I actually picked up from RSRA is, I mean, I've really started taking people down through video playlists that educate them in regard to like how we do things, how a roof is replaced. Like the more they know, the more content we can feed into them, the more we can kind of get them in our web and really just kind of reassure them that, number one, everything is going to be okay. But number two, I mean, the more that they see from us, the more they end up trusting us and the less they're going to want to actually deal with anybody else in regard to a big expensive project like a roof or a siding job.
Yeah, it's a big project and it needs to be handled with care. So I love that.
Yeah,
We
that can
did
go
just have
back.
a question. Oh, go ahead, Brian.
Well, I was just going to quickly say that can go back to assignment selling, where you tell the homeowner, here's a link to the 5 videos that we made for the most common questions. Go check them out, and I'll knock on your door and I'm done up on the roof. And so they can see for themselves through those videos you're talking about, John, and get all those questions answered and stuff like that. So they feel a little more educated.
Yes, I love that. Absolutely. We did just have a question pop into our Q&A here. What is considered good costs for overhead under 3M? Please separate from marketing spend. I'd like to hear your thoughts on marketing spend separately. I've heard so many different opinions, but want some insight from the big dogs. Insert bark here.
Curious what these gentlemen are going to say.
I would just turn that around with another question and ask like, where are you in your business? I mean, you said you're 3 million, but are you trying to grow past that 3 million? Are you trying to stay steady at that 3 million? Like what are your real goals there? Because I mean, end of the day, the more you dump into marketing, the more you're gonna be able to raise that. Um, but if you're happy at 3 million, then I mean, your marketing spend should be in line with like what you did last year. It's kind of a hard question to answer for me.
Yeah, if you don't mind popping in a few more details.
John brings up a great point, Allie, which is it's not so like all of us get overly concerned, in my opinion, about like percentages in terms of like a percentage of revenue. And like if you're going to if you're a mature concept and the amount of money that I'll use marketing as an example. The amount of money that you're spending on marketing as an overall percentage in year 10 is the same as what you spent in years 1, 2, and 3. You screwed up. And I'll tell you where your big flaw is that you're not taking care of your current customers because your referrals have not caught up with your business. So as like everybody's at a different stage of their business. Like for instance, right now, I have a very mature construction company in the state of Pennsylvania, but then I also have what I would consider an emerging franchise concept. Now the two are in totally different leagues in terms of like how long we've been in business and our strategy right now. One is one is more controlled growth with making sure that we monetize the business. The other is very explosive, very aggressive growth, where one business makes a lot of money and the other business, we don't care about making money because we're reinvesting every single dollar into knowing that we're playing a very long game. So that's it, to John's point, it's kind of a loaded question. It's almost impossible for us to answer that unless we knew exactly how like what somebody's goal was with that 3 million. Because if your goal is to maximize profits, it's a totally different equation versus um, being ultra aggressive and scaling from $3 to $7 million in the next 365 days.
Yeah. Great point, gentlemen. What's your end goal, anonymous attendee? If you're able to kind of pop that back into the Q&A here, we can kind of reframe and give you an answer that is best tailored to you. But in the meantime, we did have another question pop in that I'm curious to get your take on. How much content do you push to homeowners outside of social media? Are these in your campaigns?
So I have almost 90 videos published right now on our YouTube channel, and a lot of it is like marketing related, and then a lot of it is customer education related. So, the customer education related stuff, I mean, I do push to people through campaigns, especially whenever it comes to them actually buying into our process, them, trusting us with their project. I want them to know exactly what is going to happen on install day. I want them to know like what happens after they sign their contract with us. I want them to know as much as they possibly can without actually having gone through it. But I mean, I push pretty much everything that I have on our channel out to our customers. I want it all to be customer facing. I mean, it just helps build our brand and helps build their familiarity with us as a company.
Yeah, it can work backwards too because they'll see all of your content, watch it, and then want to work with you because of your content. It's not necessarily they find you first and then you push your content onto them. So I think it can be a dual goal with all of that. And you know, the individual videos that you make about a product, like this is a cheap underlayment, this is a high quality one, this is an upgraded one. Most people go with this one because you never have to worry about it again. But if you're on a budget, this one will certainly do the job. So stuff like that can help them educate themselves and understand what you do, what's important to you as a contractor, as a professional.
Yeah, I think it's a creates a certain level of transparency perhaps between you and the homeowner, which probably alleviates maybe some of the stress they feel about something unfamiliar. So
Mm.
makes sense. All right. So, anonymous attendee has provided more insight. New company here, second year in 2026, just barely crossed the 1 million mark, and that was not expected. We understand growth, but are a little shocked at how fast it's been. Not expecting a game plan, but overall insight to make sure we're not overspending.
So they did 1 million and then their goal is 3 million.
Sounds like it, yeah.
All right, Carney, he said big dog, so yeah, I think you're gonna have to answer this.
Now I'm gonna let you guys go first and then I'll clean up.
First of all, read this book, do that, and then take probably, if you're that small and new, I would probably do close to like 6 or 7% of revenue on marketing, maybe a little bit more, depends on what you want to do. So if you want to do three, take out 6 or 7% of that revenue, put it to marketing, separate that out, and then the rest of it you want to back out. So like work right to left. So like if this is where we're at now, this is where we want to be. Let's work backwards from there. So we'll take out that percentage for revenue. We'll take out at least 10% net profit for each job. What's our closing rate? What's our average ticket size? Kind of move it backwards that way. And then you have to make sure that your operating costs can accommodate that. If you have too much overhead, you got to cut something back and find some efficiencies. Or if you find that you have, some sort of a surplus along the way, you're doing something right. So you definitely got to track those numbers and make sure that um, each job is profitable. Not every job looks like it will be, but I would not do any job unless it was profitable to your minimums to make sure you can cover that.
I mean, I would probably assume that at the 1 million mark, I mean, you're probably owner operator at this point. So, I mean, I think that's really a sliding scale for you. Like, how fast do you want to grow? How much do you want to take on? Um, I mean, I would kind of set your limit at like the 10% mark and stuff because you want to have something to bring home. You want to kind of reinvest back into the business and things aside from like marketing avenues and whatnot. But always find ways to, like, you don't need to spend money to make the most out of the pipeline that you have already there in front of you. I mean, there's referral automations. There's a lot that you can do on that front. There's things that you can do to tweak your sales process without ever even touching marketing whatsoever. If you increase your close rate by 5%, I mean, you're going to get a lot closer to that goal of that 3 million and stuff. But it's all about how much you want to take out of it and how much you really want to scale this thing and how quickly. I, I, I still don't know if there's really like a real answer to give you in regard to like what's right. Um, there's a lot of marketing companies out there that, say that they can do a lot of great things. Don't trust anything you read online, man. Like, talk to people that you actually know, like, and trust that are in the industry. They can actually set you on the right path. Um, and listen to those guys. Like, the people that are the loudest in the room are very rarely the ones you actually want to listen to whenever it comes to where you want to spend your money. Because 9 times out of 10, those guys are getting paid by the people that they recommend.
Yeah, I think these guys did a great job explaining that, and I really subscribe to what Brian said, which is figure out what your goal is, and then reverse engineer everything based on that. Um, and then if you start to identify that your overhead is too high as an overall percentage, there's two things that can actually be done there. You can either figure out ways to reduce overhead, or well, three, or you can sell more, or you can sell more profitable jobs, meaning you can just increase your margin as long as you can get away with it. So, um, with all of that though, because if your target's 3 million, you reverse engineer it, you look at all the KPIs that are going to dictate that level of performance. You need to really know your numbers because they can get out of hand very quickly. What you don't want to do is just be ignorant and say, I'm going to spend 5% of my revenue on marketing, which at $3 million is $150,000. Well, if you just break that out over a 12-month period, there's going to be months where you're probably going to get your ass whooped because of the seasonality of our industry. And you might want to spend 1 or 2% in maintenance in those months and then increase your marketing spend from 5% to 7% in months that pay huge dividend because that's when we get all of our work in this industry. So there's a lot of things that you really need to keep into consideration. The biggest one is making sure that you know your numbers, things like your close rate, things like your cost per lead, cost per acquisition, booking rate, because everybody gets wrapped up in the cost per lead or cost per acquisition. Well, can we increase our booking rate? And then also cost per closable appointment. That's a super important metric because that means that your marketing is working, where you might be failing is your actual sales system, and your close rates might suck. So reverse engineer it, make sure you construct it and understand everything that it's going to take to achieve that goal, but then make sure that you know your numbers and are tracking them very diligently because you want to know when you're getting off course where you can make adjustments. Because if not, you just go and say, I'm going to spend X amount of money because my goal is 3 million. You wake up at the end of that year, you didn't hit your target, or maybe you did and you lost a $500,000 in the process.
Figure out who your ideal client is and focus on marketing directly to them. You can talk to marketing companies that will say, "Oh yeah, we'll do this and do that." And of course they're going to say that because they want you to spend the money to do it. But is that actually going to reach directly to your ideal customer? Maybe you need to knock 3 times as many doors as you do because you can't increase your close rate, but you can increase how many doors that you knock to get to that level. So there's a bunch of different options. But I would say if you are doing multiple trades like roofing, gutters, windows, siding, paint, check on those individual trades to see how profitable they are. Because if you're not making any money in paint, but you're only getting the paint job because you do the roof, I would maybe just set the paint jobs out to somebody else. If you can't make money on them, don't waste your time on them and just do roofing and say, "Hey, I've got referral partners for painting. They're going to take care of you. They're great." And then you move on to the next one. So that way you're only doing highly profitable trades rather than getting sucked into 2 weeks of a paint job where they can't decide on a color and you're just waiting around to get that last check from them for the whole. So there's a number of different things that you can analyze to see where you can make improvements.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Stay dialed in and keep it segmented. I like that. All right, we did have another question pop in. What's your biggest advice for overcoming a revenue plateau? 10 million, 3 years in a row, and looking to get that to the next level.
What have you done differently over the past 3 years to change that?
Yeah, so another one where we probably just need a little more feedback. So if you don't mind, Ian, popping in a little more info about maybe some of the changes you've made or kind of trial and error um, that you've had in the last 3 years.
Yeah, I think everybody on this call has some personal experience with getting around that $10 million mark, if not more. But what I can tell you is getting to 10 million is it's hard, but it's not that hard. Getting beyond 10 million is incredibly difficult because that's where you have like a break point where you start to recognize that maybe a lot of the people that got you to 10 million are not the ones to get you to 20, 30, 40, $50 million. Maybe you start to identify that certain partners and vendors are not the ones to get you beyond 10 million. Um, there's a lot of things that start to break once you get to that point. If me, John, and Brian teamed up tomorrow and we hired 2 or 3 people, we could build a $10 million org pretty freaking quick. So like it doesn't take a whole lot of people and a whole lot of don't get me wrong, you gotta have skill, you gotta have decent process, but like you're not doing anything earth shattering to get to $10 million. Once you cross that mark over 10 million and excess of that, it gets incredibly difficult. Um, and there's a lot of things that need to be looked at from the inside out. And you need to be able to figure out how to identify gaps. And then also, like your go to market strategy might need completely stripped down and rebuilt. Your entire sales team, like because of the changing industry and marketing and how you're getting appointments and leads and opportunities, your current sales team might have been developed in a different environment, and 3/4 of them might not be able to compete in this new environment because they turned into lead babies over the last 3 to 4 years. So, um, it's it's very hard to answer that question without some additional context as well, but, like, you're at a break point at $10 million, and it is incredibly difficult to figure out how to navigate to get beyond that, and for us to get beyond that was changing our strategy, which for us ended up being franchising. Um, but for a lot of people, it usually requires significant change, significant market reinvestments, um, and oftentimes significant investments in human capital because the people that helped you to get to $10 million often are not the right people to get you to 15, 20, 25 million.
Yeah, that's really great insight, Carney. What about you guys? Based on what you have so far, anything you want to add, or should we wait till we have a little more detail and kind of hop back?
I'd say the same thing I said to the previous question is What are your profit centers if you're doing things other than just roofing? If you're doing residential and commercial, I would analyze both of those. Is one more profitable than the other, or is one just kind of keeping the doors open? Yeah, there's a lot you can analyze, but people can definitely make or break that boundary. I agree.
I mean, one thing that we just started getting into this year, like we only do roofing. Um, and I wanted to kind of do add-on services in addition to just roofing this year. So, I mean, we brought gutters in-house. We're doing blow-in insulation now. What else? I just picked up a roof rejuvenation trailer that I'm going to be getting into and making our repairs more profitable. I mean, see what verticals are out there that you could kind of add on to what you currently do and run with it. If it, if it doesn't work out, I mean, you're not really like there's so much money to be made in add-ons and upgrades and like I never really pushed that as hard as I could have previously. And like I know that, I could have really increased our revenue from prior years had I like explored this sooner. But look into like buying in bulk and things too. I mean, if you're selling just as many roofs but you're spending less to kind of get there, like that's been huge for us as well. We're buying more in bulk now than what we ever have.
You don't say. Your shirt kind of gave it away.
I gotta give you a little insight. I stopped buying that stuff.
We can still hear you if you whisper, right, John?
That was only to Carney. Can you
Oh,
that out?
got it. Yeah, totally. Understood. All right, we did have okay, Ian just popped back. One of the biggest struggles we've had was enforcing KPIs and the way they were not properly tracked. Going into this year, I believe with proper enforcement, we should break through this plateau. For reference, we were 1099 and had to switch to W-2 due to state regulations. Our problems this past year was that we were a W-2 company operating as a 1099. It did not work nearly as well as taking away the 10-50-50 and going to a set percentage model.
Yeah, that's a ton of additional context that's super important because right now that this individual, what's his name? Ian?
Mhm.
Ian's going through like a reset right now where he's restructuring. And this is kind of what I was talking about and alluding to is there's these break points and you start to realize that certain things that you are doing are not conducive with long-term growth. So 1099 model, I don't know how these guys operate on this call. Terrible model. It's one of the worst models I've ever seen. Um, it's not it's not how you build a good scalable asset. It's not how you build loyalty with team members. It's not how you build something that's truly sellable, in my opinion. Now that I'm sure we could all argue and debate that, but what Ian's going through is kind of like a hard reset of getting everything organized and revamping compensation models, figuring out how to structure things properly to make sure that employees are taken care of. I would hope that this individual is also getting employee benefits, health, dental, vision, retirement programs, and stuff like that set up. Workers' compensation obviously is probably something big that they're going through as well. So all of this is kind of that reset and that break point that I was talking about to be able to prepare you for that next phase of growth. Um, but it's gonna go far beyond that, where there's gonna have to be probably a significant capital investment in bringing in people who can help you to elevate your organization, because I don't know another way. As an owner operator, you can only do so much, and you can push, 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 and you might be able to, artificially inflate the revenues, but eventually you're gonna reach a ceiling where you can only do so much. You're gonna need some really talented people around you to help to continue to move that needle when you're not around.
All right, Ian, might be time to make some cuts. Bring some fresh meat in. What do you think? What about you guys? What do you think? Anything to add to that?
You got to take the emotion out of the enforcement of the KPIs. When you sit down with whoever it is, okay, here's your KPIs. Can you perform these? Yes, I can. This is when they're due. Are you aware of that? Yes. So if they violate that, it's a willful disobedience of the KPIs. And so when they admit those things, they have buy-in to perform that. And so when you come back to them and say, "You knew about this, you said you could do it, you know how to perform it, and you didn't choose to do it, therefore you're out. This is your last day. Um, your login has been rescinded and see ya." And then everyone else in the company is gonna be like, "Holy crap." And then everyone's gonna go up. So when they see that when there's no toleration there, no one's gonna tolerate violation of the KPIs and their daily duties. You're gonna see an increase in performance because there's accountability, and when people are not used to accountability, they slack and they don't seem to care that stuff isn't getting done. At least they're getting paid, if they're a salary, whatever. But if you remove the emotion and just say, okay, you did not do this, therefore you're out. Next
Mm,
person, that we got someone else to fill that seat now.
that's
That's how you
right.
do that.
Willful disobedience. I haven't heard that before, but I love it. I'll be peppering it into my vocab immediately. I think Ian seemed to enjoy it as well. So that was really good.
It doesn't work on dogs though. They don't care.
I
I'll
have
write
I
that
have 2 comment I have 2 comments to that, and they'll be super short. So I know John's dying to jump in and talk. Um,
I'm good, man.
is you don't wanna be liked, you wanna be respected.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing as a leader that you need to just understand and come to terms with. I'm friends with my guys, don't get me wrong, but I need them to respect me more than I need them to treat me like a friend. And then the other thing is, and we say this all the time, you need to learn how to manage results instead of trying to manage people. Manage people is like chasing your tail around. You need to manage the result, and if the Eagles are not achieving that result, there needs to be some disciplinary actions that need to be taken. Or, hey, if you don't meet these results, this is not the right place for you. Go find a career elsewhere because you're going to thrive in that environment versus this one because this one clearly ain't it for you. Um, so you need to learn how to and life and business will get so much easier when you start just managing for results instead of managing people. The second that you try to manage people and micromanage and manage their individual little tasks, you'll drive yourself nuts and you'll drive them nuts in the interim. So manage results, don't manage people.
I mean, the only thing I'm going to chime in with is just that, I mean, you going to full W-2 is like, it sounds like scary and it sounds like it was a big reset for you. But I mean, man, you have no idea how much more control you now have over everything. Um, and like getting off of that 10 million plateau, I mean, you now have the ability to ensure that your salespeople are focused on nothing but sales centric activities and things, right? Like if you have leads that are sitting there that haven't had appointments booked, guess what? You have people that you can have in a sales activity calling and setting those, right? Um, like make the most out of the fact that they are actual true employees now and keep them involved and keep them in their lanes. They should not be doing anything outside of, like, if they're in production, should just be production based tasks. If they're in sales, sales based tasks, like so on and so forth. Um, this is really just a reset to a new runway, and you're going to be able to really run with that, man.
exciting times, Ian. Excited to see you get to the other end of that and beyond. We're rooting for you over here, that's for sure. All right, we
Like,
did get another. Oh, go ahead,
no,
John.
nothing. Remco sent me a text. He said that I look good in Mercy Blue, but I'd look even better in Subtrax Gray. And I
What did Remco say about my camo outfit today?
Yeah. What did he say about my hair? Do you say it looked
Can't
good?
see you.
Remco, we all expect compliments. Okay, so we'll just wait for those to come into the Q&A, and I'll announce them. Ian said thank you guys. He said that was awesome. And we did have another one pop in here. What are some good ways to follow up with leads we ran last season but didn't close by the end of 2025?
you know what? I was the last one to talk on that last question, so I'm going to be the first one to talk on this one.
Nice.
Well, man, there's so much stuff you can do. Like end of season and stuff specifically, like around big holidays. Like I'm gonna speak to ProLine. We have the ability to actually like send mass communications out now through broadcast messaging. Um, just sending messages out that prompt a response. Like if you go to ChatGPT and you just do like Alex Harmozy style, like text messages and emails and things where all they have to do is respond back with either like a single word or a number. Like you will be amazed how many responses those prompt. Um, but in addition, I mean, every single shingle manufacturer now has announced price increases. Use that stuff to your ability to actually lock in more deals before that price increase even hits. Like, if you're not taking advantage of these opportunities, like somebody else is. So
They're taking advantage of you. I love it. What else, guys?
beat that, guys. Beat that.
Yeah, you could try. I mean, I think the price increase letter is kind of almost subliminally a scare tactic into making them buy from you or making them act now. But I think it also goes to show that today is the most affordable time to purchase a roof replacement. Like tomorrow, it's only going to get worse and worse. Here's the evidence of that. Here's the letter from the manufacturer. So that's some of the, I guess, the facts and the data around the situation that you see where you're showing you're looking out for that homeowner. And, I think you can kind of analyze, maybe you could drop the conversations that you've had into Chat GPT and say, hey, based on what they've said, what do you recommend? That's kind of the, I don't know if it's like cheating, but it's kind of like if you're running out of ideas and you need some creative influence, maybe that'll help you. But um, yeah, there's plenty of templates in ProLine that you could create a campaign and um, you know, try something new. But I mean, if it was a roof replacement, why didn't they want to go with you then? Were there trust factors? Were there situations in their life that just didn't line up? You can kind of tailor it to each customer, and that may take some time, but I think that's what makes it feel even more personal that you remembered that they just had to put their dog down and they're really not they don't care about their roof right now, so they need like a week to think about that. Stuff like that where it feels really personal. That's that may stand out more than just, "Hey, we're gonna get 5% increase. You wanna do it now or what?" You
Yeah.
know?
You and everybody else. I like it. Cool.
Yeah.
Brian stole my favorite line, which is the cheapest time and best time to buy a system is today.
Yeah.
We say it all the time is nothing good happens in our industry by waiting and educating I mean, think about it. What good could possibly come from delaying? Or maybe a storm hits your house and insurance covers it before you have to pay out of pocket. That's about it. But depending on where you're at, that could be a once in 25 or once in 50 storm that you're praying for. Um, One of the things that we've done, which was like a little tactful thing that people that are listening to this could take away and use is um, if you have a team and you have salespeople, like what we do is if it has to get into like a rehash campaign or we didn't close it and it's going through some type of proposal follow up, um, we actually get the system at our location in Pennsylvania to go ahead and actually send an automation and a text message to the customer from our president, which is my partner, just simply extending an invitation to have a conversation to look at what can be done to move the needle for that individual. And that the success on that is amazing because they'll open up and they'll tell somebody who's a manager or an owner, they'll tell them things that they're not telling the salesperson. They'll hit the salesperson with a bunch of phony and fake objections. They know that they're talking to an owner and decision maker. They'll just straight up say, "Hey, if you can drop 500 bucks, I'll sign right now." And most of us on this call, as prideful as we are, we'd say we don't want to drop 500 bucks. I guarantee you, if it's a $30,000 project, all three of us on this call will drop 500 bucks instantly to get that deal today. So, having somebody with like a manager override, somebody that has the authority to make decisions, um, having that set up in your campaigns after X amount of time to follow up and extend that invitation to have a conversation, we found to be super effective.
Yeah, I like it. That makes sense to me.
Yeah, I think that also shows that the company is still owner involved. It's not like some big corporation where they don't even see you. They just see the revenue you're bringing to the company. So that ties it into more of like the local reliable contractor that they're looking for because the owner is still involved. So that's pretty cool. And yep.
And
Off, guys. I have a 5:30. I have to drive
Oh,
right down the street. So
you're all
you're
good.
good. Have fun, dude.
We're wrapping it up. Thank you for coming today, Brian. We appreciate it. You had something to add, Carney?
I was just gonna say to his point, yeah, it does make like customers want to feel good and they want to feel wanted. And when they feel like all they are is a key to revenue or a sales ticket, they don't like, yeah, they might appreciate the individual that consulted with them, but like they don't feel wanted. The second that they realize that they're talking to somebody who's an owner, who's a decision maker, who can help to move the needle and is now more intimately involved, whether we are or we aren't, they feel like we're more intimately involved in their transaction. It just instills a lot of trust that they're making the right decision by moving forward with that organization, in my opinion.
Yeah, I could totally see that and think it makes perfect sense. Well, all right, y'all. We don't have any remaining questions left in the Q&A, so I think it's time to end today's episode. But as always, I really appreciate.
I need to know
Oh,
what has been your favorite show that you've been to so far this year?
like trade shows, you mean?
Yes, ma'am.
Oof. IRE was incredible. Close second would have to be Top Red Myrtle Beach. Chuck just gets it. I think what I love the most is the opportunity for the sales reps to kind of battle it out among each other. I loved the dog fights. I thought they were super entertaining. And I don't know, I just you walk away with just a kind of a better understanding of what it takes to really sell and close. And I thought that was awesome. I thought IRE was great from just like a volume standpoint. Like everybody who's anybody's at IRE. But if you're attending a top rep event, you care about training, you care about sales. So I don't know. I think those are my top two.
All right.
What about you, Mr. Starry?
I've only been to RoofCon this year. I'm not a big fan of Vegas. So, and the funny thing is, I kind of swore off RoofCon. All them years before, they were all in Orlando, and it was just like 2 hour drive to me. But, and then of course, they move it to Oklahoma City, and it's like, there's nothing there.
Yeah.
But I go. So, there it
Yep.
is.
I saw you there.
I know.
Loud and proud. All right. What about you, Carney? You have a favorite show?
Haven't attended enough. The only ones I've been to are ones that we've been partaking in. So I don't know. I'd say Best of Success was pretty cool, but
Okay.
yeah, Best of Success is a good event. Seems like a lot of really high character individuals attend that one.
What do you know about Top 500? Like the Top 500 Builder show or whatever it is?
I know nothing about it. I stay to myself, so like you guys don't get to see me out a whole lot.
Yeah, that's true. I caught you at Win the Storm my very first day of work and haven't been so lucky ever since.
Yep, sushi and some alcohol.
That'll do it. That'll do it. Speaking of, I need to go have some myself right now. So, all right, y'all. Have a happy Monday, and I'll see you right back here at 4:30 to do it all again.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, guys.